Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We learn in the parsha this week a very interesting lesson. We see that when a person spoke lashon hara about another, spoke gossip about their fellow in the times of the leaving of departure from Egypt with Moses in the desert with Moshiach, what would happen when a person would speak gossip, speak slander about their fellow? What would happen? They would have tsaras, they would develop leprosy. So it was like a form of leprosy, a skin disease. And if it got severe enough, they would have to be isolated for 7 days. And then if it still didn't go away, they would have to be isolated for another 7 days, 14 days, which interestingly is a connection to what we've been going through the past year or so, when you always hear someone has symptoms 14 days. You know, all these ideas about 14 days. We know that the Torah is something that is permanent. The Torah is not something that we learned about years ago and is nice and inspirational for today. No, not just that, but rather it's equally applicable today as it was back in the day. The Torah is alive, and the Torah, Hashem gave us a Torah that is applicable to every single day of our lives, every single generation, every single culture. We all have to use the Torah as a blueprint. So, the main cause of this condition that people would develop tsaras was because of gossip. So we understand the severity that the Torah goes in to talk about this disease and all the implications of it and all the details at such a great length that we learn from the severity of speaking negatively about others. This is such a damaging thing. So now in our generation, we have to recognize that it's so important, especially with what's going on in the world, that we have to examine our speech and recognize and make sure that everything that is coming out of our mouths is in a way of holiness. We're speaking nicely and gently with each other, and we're not allowing ourselves to come to speak slander. But from this we learn a very important lesson. We learn that if it's so severe, if the power of speech is so great that any negative speech about another is so serious and so severely damaging. So how much more so should we recognize the power of speech when we use it for the good? So we know that the Torah is one with Hashem. Torah is Hashem's speech, it's Hashem's will, it's Hashem's wisdom. Now, when we look at ourselves, a person's speech is not completely united with them. A person could say something and take it back and say, I really didn't mean it. Or a person could think something and say, wow, what was I thinking? Or a person could do something and say, I shouldn't have done that. But with Hashem, everything he thinks, feels, and says, so to speak, is completely one with him. Since the Torah is Hashem's will and it's Hashem's wisdom, so it's completely one with him. It's not something separate from him. It is a complete reflection of Hashem. So therefore, if we speak words of Torah with our mouths, let's say we recite a verse of Psalms, Tehillim, or we recite Torah verses, Psukim from Chumash, Bible verses, we recite them, or we recite Talmud, the Torah, we recite Chassidus, we speak Torah concepts with our mouths. So imagine how powerful that is. We're becoming like a channel for godliness. We're spreading it outwards. That our physical bodies are speaking Torah, are radiating Hashem's light. It's unbelievable. Now think about it. If we're punished so severely for saying bad things about each other, that's because speech is a weapon. Our words have power. So, by that same token, if we learn Torah, we speak words of Torah with our mouths, we spread Torah with each other, then how powerful is that? And then we become a vessel for the divine, for Hashem. And then imagine every time you're saying a Torah verse, it is